change the political systems that exist in many parts of the world. But changes may occur after a very long time span. We don't know for sure, but there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of reasons to be hopeful. There is also the fact that digital democracy has a very modest positive effect for political participation. Results all over the world, especially in Africa, digital democracy or sort of digital media sort of has been an effective tool for young people in terms of, participating in elections. But the challenge is that in most cases, in many parts of the world, you only win elections when you are socially savvy or digitally savvy, whereas your opponents are not necessarily, when your opponents are not necessarily savvy. We've seen cases of, the allegations about Cambridge Analytica. In Senegal, we see that in the most recent elections, how data mining helped the president maintain a very comfortable lead against his opponents. In Nigeria, in Kenya, and other parts of the world, we see that in some cases, digital media is not necessarily a boost for democracy as a whole. Sort of it poses a lot of challenges in terms of legitimacy, especially if you look at it from that point of view. It's also important to note that the use of digital media can support and sometimes, in most cases, destroy democracy as a result, in terms of disinformation, surveillance, micro-targeting, and all of this we are all aware in terms of what the consequences has been in different parts of the world, including this part of the world, and therefore there's always the need as citizens to be aware of the general challenges that will come along with digital media and the internet. So, on that note, I wanted to thank you all for your attention and invite questions or comments on this subject. Yes. Do we have a mic?
Thank you very much, Denver, my brother, and Dembi. I have a question for you regarding level. We talked about level playing fields. I just want to hear your thoughts on blending traditional community radios with social media in order to balance the playing field, whereby the discourse can be taken to community level from what happens in social media using community radio to transmit that. What are your thoughts on this? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we have another one. I'll take a couple and then answer them.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Sarah from Sudan. I have a small question. What about fake news? I think you mentioned fake news, and it's a big challenge nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So I need the solutions for fake news. What do you suggest? This is the first question. The second question, there is different usage of social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook. So what's the difference between these two platforms? How can we use them optimally? Thank you.
Okay. I'll attempt to answer these two questions, and then we'll take more if time permits. First question of Poncelet on the issue of level playing field and radio, especially community radios versus digital media. This is very important in terms of creating more room for participation. In many parts of Africa, especially in the Gambia, radio still is the most popular medium, especially among local people, especially among grassroots. So yes, I agree that radio could be a very powerful tool. What I would advise is sort of an amalgamation of the two in terms of, using radio to transmit digital messages, but at the same time also using digital tools to transmit radio messages. We see that happening in many parts of the world. There are good examples I know of in the Gambia. People publishing and transmitting these messages through WhatsApp groups, family level. And so this is also in line with the digital transformation that's happening right now around the world. But the challenge is generally how do we make sure that all of this information is actually geared towards enhancing democracy or enhancing good governance and so on and so forth. In most cases, sometimes community radios lack capacity. Community radios lack the appropriate tools. They lack resources and so on and so forth. Notwithstanding, they still play a very crucial role. Yeah. Sarah from Sudan talked about fake news. What are the solutions? I'm not sure I know the answers to that. Otherwise, I don't think I would be here. But yeah, I'll try to. In terms of fake news, I think one of the major challenges is information literacy. I talk about the fact that there is sort of a lot of, the people from, the masses don't understand some of these tools. They don't have a lot of what we call information literacy, and as such, they become prone, to being faked online. And this is a major challenge. So for me, one of the best solutions in terms of dealing with fake news is, information and media information literacy. This is one of the best approaches. In terms of difference between Facebook and Twitter for optimization, Facebook is very much sort of network and community building, whereas Twitter is more like everybody talking at each other. And it's a bit more difficult in terms of garnering support on Twitter than compared to Facebook. And I think in terms of settings, also depending on what you want to do, security seems to be a bit more closer on Facebook. You can create Facebook groups, closed user groups, and so on and so forth. Whereas on Twitter, it's a bit more open and public. I don't know if that answers your question. Yes, thank you. Do we have any more? I don't know how much time we have. Do you have 10 more minutes? Okay. All right. Do you have any questions? Yes, we have one more question there. Thank you. Do you have more? There's one more at the back, far back. Morning. Thank you. We have one more right in front.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Dersu from Mozambique. I would like to ask you, when you talk about online space and offline space, I would like to understand what you think. Do we have an online space who is like a continuity of offline space? Because for me it's very difficult to divide the two, online and offline. You think that we really have online space the same, but you say
of the cost. There is a
Thank you. I'll start with question
a
from
document
James in
which
terms
is
of
referred to
restrictions.
somewhere. I just
What I
can't
want to say
remember
about
the
is
exact
that
name, but it's a
in most
policy
cases,
document
governments, especially
that
from our
came out
research
about
findings
3-4 years
in the
ago
continent, in sub-Saharan
with
Africa, is that
the total
their
plan for
natural
universal
default or
internet
default
access,
setting is
including the
control.
costing, including
we
the
all had the
government's
honorable member
targets,
from
none of which
DRC
they have
at the
achieved.
opening session where
So
he
there's
said,
a costing,
control,
and it's supposed to be in the budget.
I think
and the second part of
there's
your
a need
question
for
was?
sort of conversation around what should be the government's role. And I know there are a lot of internet governance initiatives
we think
across
the progressive realization of internet access over
engage governments more. The natural or the default setting should not be control, but rather sort of engaging
that may not
people.
Be the same in other countries.
Bring about the issues
but
that you want to talk about to the
infrastructure,
people. The ordinary users also need security. They understand the importance of security. They understand the importance of legitimate information. They understand the need for protection online and so on and so forth. Now, if there are challenges,
many other
deal with them in a more
democratic
and more sort of participatory manner instead of just resorting to switching off the internet, which has been
arguing
the case
for full net neutrality.
The other option
we're arguing
severe
for fair
restrictions.
access to
Unfortunately,
information
this
in the
is
public
also very common in many parts of the continent, including here in Ethiopia. Despite all the good reforms, we see there are a lot of restrictions. Now, the challenge is, a lot of people will tell you these are new technologies, these are new means of communication, and that a lot of governments are trying to understand them, and in that sense, to that extent, they sort of make mistakes on the way. Well, legitimate mistakes are allowed here and there, but
my question is maybe for free access to the internet, maybe the operators or maybe part of the universal access fund that will make it available for the public. But who will be going to responsible for the content which is the actual matter? So how are you going to manage that?
Strong institutions.
So you're 100% right. One of the slides that I
digital rights in terms of the overall fundamental rights and freedoms of individuals.
Those are the three key issues.
Medicare made a very good point. I just add that in most cases, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, Facebook is already sort of more popular, and then when it comes to it, it's a bit more elitist. A lot of journalists there, politicians, NGOs, and so on and so forth. So depending on who you want to reach, you might want to think of where you want to be or want to focus more.
Especially first time
Dasia's question is a little bit sort of, I would say, theoretical. In reality or in practice, yes, there is sort of difference between online and offline. But in theory, this does not necessarily exist, because most of the conversations that happen offline are actually sort of reflected online. But in terms of, if my presentation, if you followed, I talk about the issue of mass mobilization being easier done online compared to organizing. Organizing, you need a little bit of offline, you need a bit of one-on-one or person-to-person or in-person meetings in terms of you want to succeed and within a very short period of time. And also depending on the environment in which you find yourself. But when it comes to mass mobilization, then there is a lot more that you can do online. I mean, you don't have to meet people in person. I'm not sure if this answers your question very well, but that's all we have time for. And I thank you all for your engagement and your attention. Thank you.